How you guys doing? Hey, good morning. Mm. Good morning, good morning. Hey, excited to have you guys on here. You know what's the glass for me? What is good, everybody? Excited to have you guys on here. What's up? I'm dueling right now. I got Instagram right here. I got Facebook right here. Guys, I am excited. And I wanted to go live today on both platforms because my heart is just really stirred about kind of where we are economically, and wanting to make sure that everybody really understands where we are because everything is about seasons and times, right? It's just like an elevator. If you get in the elevator at the right time, then you're good. But if you get in the elevator too late, then the door closes and you end up missing that opportunity and you got to wait for another elevator, right? And so I want to make sure, Darcy, that those of you that are connected, we're connected in any way, shape, form, or fashion, know that I love you and I want the best for you. And I will tell you, I'm definitely an extremist in that I want to see everybody wealthy. I want to see everybody win. I believe it was God's plan before the foundations of the world for you to have abundant wealth, right? He never planned for you. His plan was never ever lack. Actually, there's a scripture that says that he takes pleasure, Donna, right, in our prosperity. It doesn't say that God takes pleasure in our lack. It says he takes pleasure in our prosperity. But that also means that we're going to have to understand wealth strategies. We're going to have to understand wealth timing. We're going to have to understand the rhythm of wealth, how wealth moves, and make sure, Nadine, right, that we get ourselves in position to be a part of, I believe, the greatest wealth transfer that the world has ever seen. I've been in this space for the last 5 years, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I had ears to hear, even when I didn't understand anything at all. Right, Gabriel? I mean, I didn't understand nothing about cryptocurrency. I didn't understand anything about, trading or anything like that, making money in minutes. Like, I didn't understand that, and I was blessed that I had already, come into some wealth, but making money in minutes, right? Making money while you sleep, like that was just nothing that I ever knew. And so anyway, L'Oreal, what I did is what happens is anything that you pursue will eventually begin to pursue you. And so, I pursued the education, I pursued people that had the results that I wanted. And so today I study this stuff every single day. We have a phenomenal Wealth Academy, Candace, that I really want to encourage all of you to really become a part of. I want to jump right in this morning, and I want to pull up a video that I have probably rewatched over and over and over and over again. I've taken notes on it. I've stopped it. I've hit replay. And this is somebody I consider a wealth mentor. I will be meeting him very soon, and he will be on here live, which is Bitcoin billionaire Michael Saylor. His revelation on Bitcoin is vast. Now, for those of you that are already plugged into the academy, this is going to be, Tamara, for you, prayerfully adding on more value and greater understanding of what we have and why we need to all be really diligent in this space and not just be like, oh, child, that's for them. Oh, honey, that's just for them. No, this is for anybody. Like, this is for anybody that decides. Like, cryptocurrency is not Bitcoin in particularly I'm talking about here. There are other altcoins that I like, but cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and Ethereum in particularly, if you don't start, learning about any other cryptos, those two are literally going to set you up for probably 100 years to come. Because if you want to leave, $1 billion to your children, how do you leave it? Do you leave it in gold? Do you leave it in Apple stock? Do you leave it in oil? Do you leave it in land, buildings, or crypto? Right, which is literally it's stored money, digital, that cannot be confiscated. Right, you cannot put a lien on Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So for so many reasons, we need to understand how this cryptocurrency works, and then more than anything, become a student of it. Now, those of you that are already in the Wealth Academy, again, I think this is really going to help you to get some, real understanding on what you have before you and really, really make sure that you are communicating and conveying what's happening globally right now, so we don't end up missing like a whole nother transfer just because we was too slow getting on the elevator and then the door closed and then we had to sit there and wait. You know how you be somewhere and the elevator is super, super slow. Like if you don't seize moments, if you don't understand to seize moments, seize seasons, and maximize this digital space, you could end up working much, much harder, which is why the rich get richer, because they understand shift. It's all about understanding the shift. And right now we're in a huge economic shift. Things are changing rapidly. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my brother here, Michael, and let you guys kind of hear what I heard. Now I'm probably going to, maybe stop it a little bit and interject, because Michael can definitely be a little bit over your head. Okay. If you new to the crypto world, you'd be like, bruh, what is that? I remember when I first started listening to him before I really understood like crypto, and I'd be like, I need you to say that whole thing over again. So I'm gonna be here doing some interpretations for you. Okay. All right. So let's
whether you own Bitcoin, plan to buy Bitcoin, believe in cryptocurrencies or not, you need to educate yourself on what it.
Uh-oh. I made it. Oopsie. Hold on, guys. All right. I'm getting there so you can see this. All right. Wait. Hold up. All right. So I started playing, but I want to make sure that you guys see this. Yeah, but I think this is going to like clarify a lot for you. And for those of you that have just been kind of sitting on the side line, listen, it's time to, you literally can just be at the crib and become extremely wealthy.
Whether you own Bitcoin, plan to buy Bitcoin, believe in cryptocurrencies or not, you need to educate yourself on what it is, why it's important, and why countries like El Salvador have adopted it. I just did a webinar with Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategies, and Bill Barnhart, the CEO of Abra, what I consider two of the smartest people on the planet. Now, in this webinar, Michael Saylor provides what I consider the most clear and cogent arguments for Bitcoin I have ever heard. Let's dive in. Let me do a proper introduction here. First and foremost, Michael, welcome. Good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Yeah, of course, pal. To allow people to have prosperity, right? I mean, one of the things we talk about is exponential technologies are taking everything that used to be scarce into abundance, whether it's food, energy, water, healthcare, and so forth. But I love the system of the requirement to be able to store energy, and money is economic energy. What happened in El Salvador? Can you take a moment to explain the implications and how important this is?
Well, I think they had a civil war and they lost their currency. Okay, countries that are poorly managed lose their currency privileges. And what we can see is that at 100 countries in the world are all losing their currencies. Everybody's basically, the Venezuelans not going to have a currency. The Zimbabwe don't have a currency. Any currency that collapses more than 20 to 30% against the US dollar eventually fails. So people throw that over and they go to the dollar. The euro is effectively pegged to the dollar. Most of the other currencies are pegged to the dollar. So you've really got two currency systems. You've got CNY, and even the Chinese peg their currency to the dollar, right? If you look at it. So you've got the first world currency system, then you've got the developed world currencies. They're all failing. So in El Salvador, they didn't have a currency. They used the US dollar, and then they're at the mercy of two things. One, the money changers are basically stealing 10 to 20% of their money when they move it back and forth. If I charge you 10% commission every time you move your money to a family member, I mean, how many times do you get to do that, right? So that's a problem. And the second problem is, now I'm storing my money in the US dollar. It used to lose 0.5% a month, and now it's losing 2% purchasing power a month because the Fed's printing money. So how do you crawl out of that abyss? And I think the president of El Salvador realized that what you want to do is back your currency or back your country with an asset which is appreciating in value. So Bitcoin's been appreciating 120% a year every year for a decade. The S&P is up 12% a year for a decade. So Bitcoin outperforms the S&P by a factor of 10.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Bitcoin has been performing for the last decade. Think about this. It's only been in the earth or in existence for the last decade, but it's been performing 120% per year. 120% per year. El Salvador, we're looking at this. He's paying attention to this because El Salvador is one country, but I believe we're gonna start to see other countries that have had horrible financial mismanagement and start to move over here. So this is why this is important. Okay, let's go back.
It outperforms gold, which is up by maybe 1 to 2% a decade. So it's outperforming gold by a factor of 50. Look, here's the big idea, that Bitcoin's not just an asset, right? It's the perfected apex property of the human race. If you have $1 billion and you want to give it to your grandchildren, are you going to buy land in California, a building in New York, $1 billion stack of gold? Are you going to buy $1 billion of Apple stock? Are you going to buy $1 billion worth of art, diamonds, commodities, corn futures, oil? What are you going to buy for $1 billion that'll be here 100 years from now? And if you think about it really hard, you conclude that every other asset class is more easily impaired, seized, confiscated, taxed, or regulated. And of course, some are impractical. There's no way that 5 billion people in Africa and Asia are going to be walking around with Apple stock on their mobile phones. That's not happening. How do you pay for for anything with Apple stock on a Saturday afternoon in South Africa? Right? That doesn't work. And so, yeah, you could try to use a currency, but now I've been in business 20 years. I can't do business in Nigeria after 20 years because if you want to do business in the fiat currency, you have to have your bank deal with your central bank, deal with their central bank, deal with their bank. Can't do it on the weekend, and you can't do it because of Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in Russia or Nigeria or whoever. And so how do you get 8 billion people trading with each other through 100 million corporations? You need a protocol. What is the protocol? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Michael, an open monetary protocol to link 8 billion people and 100 million companies with one another in the 21st century.
I'm going to get back to El Salvador. Give me a Bitcoin 101, if you don't mind. We probably have some people here who have heard of it and are interested in learning about it. And we've got a wide range. And I want to get back to what did the president of El Salvador just do. But let's take a second and give us the Bitcoin 101, if you would.
Okay. Let's say that I wanted to create a non-sovereign store of value. I have $1 million. I want to save it for 100 years, and I don't want to trust anybody else with the money. I can't put it in a bank.
Okay, just to bring some clarity here, he's about to drop some gems where inflation is concerned. This part is very, very important that everybody understand this, okay? So keep listening. We're adults, we're not children with ADD, so pay attention. Trying to help you with your money.
Every single person in Argentina had 90% of their US dollars and their Argentine pesos seized overnight by the government 20 years ago by edict. Stroke of a pen. It wasn't hard. So I can't leave it in the bank. I can't store it in a currency because the banks can steal it from me. I can't save it in a stock. The company might not even exist, and the CEO or the board might dilute it. I can't put it in land because I can't move the land, and they could tax in Florida. They tax you 2% a year on the land. You lose your land in 20 years. So I buy gold. Now that's the traditional idea, but the problem with gold is that every year gold miners produce 2% more gold, and then I can't carry $1 billion of gold through an airport. So I have to put it in a bank, and then 95 of the top 100 cities in the world, 95 or more of them seized all your gold in the past 100 years when the regime changes. Okay, so how do I fix that? So this guy Satoshi invented digital gold on an open protocol monetary network. And we call that Bitcoin. And the way it works is I define 21 million gold coins. I dematerialize them in cyberspace. I make them infinitely divisible by 100 million units each, and that's called a Satoshi. Then I make it impossible to ever make any more than 21 million. And then I give you a protocol where any computer can send the coin or the Bitcoin to any other computer without a middleman. And I make it possible for you to take personal custody of your asset. So if I want $1 billion worth of property, I can carry it around in my head by memorizing the passphrase. I can hold it on a hardware wallet. I can hold it on a mobile phone. I can put it to any computer in the world. Then I can move the $1 billion to any custodian in the world in a few minutes for a pittance. So the idea is, if I took gold and I said, you can't mine any more gold, check, that would make gold more valuable. And if I said, you can't use it for jewelry, there's no jewelry being melted down into gold, that makes gold more valuable. And if I capped it at 21 million and I numbered each of the gold coins, that'd make it more valuable. And if I made it infinitely divisible, and if you could authenticate it in a split second with a mobile phone, that would make it more valuable. And if I made it programmable with a protocol, and I made it possible for a computer to make 1 million transactions a second and talk to 100 million other computers using Intel semiconductors, that would make it more valuable. So in essence, we created programmable gold on a network. And then what's the last twist?
Okay, so now we just welcome China Bethley to the party, another queen of cryptocurrency. Hey, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful. This is just, I am floored. I'm like,
girl. So I want to make sure everybody understands what he just said, because we just been stopping, playing it and stopping it, because Michael be on some other stuff and you'd be like,
yes.
Okay, I don't know what nothing you just said. So basically he's breaking down, China, why cryptocurrency, and particularly Bitcoin, is so much more valuable than gold. Because most people, when they think about hedging inflation, building generational asset wealth, they think, okay, let me grab some gold, let me grab some silver. And he's not saying those things are, still don't have some value, but he's saying in comparison to gold, and he's breaking it down because gold is tangible, right? But Bitcoin is not tangible. It's like the iCloud. You can't touch it, but you still store tons of data and pictures and files and all kinds of things on it, right? So he's basically breaking it down. In order for gold to be able to ever match what Bitcoin is, you'd have to have serial numbers on all of it. It'd have to be programmable. You'd have to be able to move it from one place to another without, transportation. And we all know that's just not possible, right?
And like he said, Jewel, it would have to be a limited amount. There would have to be a specific number that limits that amount, which really does make it a lot more valuable. But because it's so easily accessible, people can make it into jewelry, the intrinsic value is there, but the price point value, of course, can always fluctuate and not see nowhere near the heights of a Bitcoin.
Nowhere near China. And this is why it's so important for everyone listening right now, seriously, to reach out to the person that invited you, reach out to us, reach out to whoever invited you on here. Like, guys, we're giving you tea for the largest wealth transfer that we believe we have ever seen, that the world has ever seen, not just us. We're talking serious money. And this next decade is going to be critical, because I want us to listen to what he's about to say next. And I love the two-piece, by the way. Okay. All right, let's go back to Michael.
The last twist is you make it decentralized so that there's 10,000 different computers, or maybe even 100,000 different computers running the software at the same time with an identical copy of the ledger, so that no company, no CEO, no government, no regulator can meddle with it, the protocol. So it is literally, it's like a virus released into cyberspace, a living life form. You can't stop it without turning off every computer on Earth at the same time, and you have to keep them turned off forever. right? You can't kill it. And so the idea of Bitcoin is apex property for the human race. And for the first time in the history of the human race, if you have $1 million, you can hold $1 million in your head, walk through a border, send it across the world, take custody, or transfer it to any custodian, or prove that you have it in a split second. And you can't do that with anything else. That's what Bitcoin is.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So let's go back to what El Salvador just did and the implications thereof. Please.
Okay, well, if the US dollar is losing 20% of its purchasing power a year, which is what's happening right now, the dollar is collapsing against scarce assets.
Okay, class. Okay, class. What did he just say? The US dollar is collapsing right now, and that it's losing large percentages of its purchasing power. The dollar is losing large percentages of its purchasing power. Guys, this part is real important, because what happens is when depression shows up, your banker is not going to call you in and just be like, hey, in the next 12 months, you're going to notice inflation is going to go through the roof. Hyperinflation, not just inflation, but hyperinflation. Your dollar is going to be worth a lot more. So let's get you on a strategic plan. That ain't going to happen, right? So listen to this part, because this part is the part that gets it for me every time.
The reason the NASDAQ or the stock exchange is an all-time high isn't because the companies are more valuable, it's because your currency is weak. And the currency keeps collapsing against scarce assets. That's why we have inflation. That's why houses in the Hamptons or Palm Beach cost more. That's why the average home in the US costs 15% more than it did 12 months ago. So if El Salvador is going to prosper as a country, they need to invest their assets or invest their money in something which isn't going to collapse. If you're holding $1 billion of US dollars, and if the US Fed doubles the dollar supply, they stole half your money from you. That's what's going on right now. So what El Salvador...
Why is that not obvious to everybody? It's crazy.
It's because part of the world is rich and privileged. And so if you are wealthy in the US and Europe, and you have a large stock portfolio, you think you're a genius because your portfolio is up 32% or 47% year over year, and you made wise investment decisions, right? And then you think, oh yeah, I see that everything's going up in price, but you've already got your house, right? If you were trying to buy a house in the Hamptons, it went up in price 45% year over year. If you already own the house in the Hamptons, you think, well, this is great. My house is more valuable. My stocks are more valuable. I'm a genius. I'm a good investor. And so if you're asset rich, and that's 10% of the world, you just feel like everything's great. On the other hand, if you're a dentist working for $137,000 a year, the price of early retirement and the price of all those things you ever wanted to buy is pulling away from you. Right? You can't afford to buy it. There's something wrong when people say we're going to pump up the price of assets to protect the economy, because what you're doing is you're inflating the price of assets for.
Okay, China. Let's do a little interpretation here. So
that right there, when I tell you, honey, what I love is that he said that, and it's so true. People feel that they're exempt. In so many words, this is happening, but I'm covered. This is happening, but we're good because we already have the house in the Hamptons. We already have these assets. The value of the home is going up. I don't know why that's happening. And they don't realize that, no, the wealth that you have acquired for however long you've been acquiring it is worth less every single day that you wake up in the morning. Whatever you're holding it as is worth less every single day that you wake up the next morning. This is the new rules to money. And no one is exempt from playing by these rules.
No one is exempt by playing by the rules. He said something. He said, if you have $1 billion today, if the feds decide to pass out more stimulus checks or to print more money for whatever reason, right? And I'm not empathetic that they did that because people were really hurting, but I don't think that was the financial solution, because whatever liquidity you had, whatever cash you had, you now just lost 50% of it. Every time they do that, So if you had $100,000 in savings, every time the feds print more money, now you have 50,000. So you've lost purchasing power. And it's not just houses in the Hamptons, right? We see it in Atlanta, we see it in Nashville, we see it in Detroit, we see it all over. Real estate at large is up. We got to understand what this means, China, and we got to get really fervent about accumulating crypto, A, and then B, trading it.
Absolutely. And you know what I thought about as I'm listening to this, Jewel, we've been in this space now for about 5 years, extremely diligent with educating the masses, but particularly women of color and minorities. And when I listen to this information, all I could just think to myself is that no one is late if they're just getting started today. No one is late if you're just getting started today. Just because we've been inside of this space, so you may have been following Jewel, following me for quite some time, and you're hearing it, don't feel overwhelmed and feel like you're behind, because the world is still catching up to this idea that's really the future of money. And so please understand that you are not late, but you need to take action immediately. You need to take action now. You're not hearing this just because. We are at the beginning of a recession. We don't know what more checks are going to be printed out, and we need to make sure that you guys are extremely intentional if you're going to bypass this wealth gap that continues to widen. Like, the wealth gap is widening by the minute. And unfortunately, it's the middle class that is always taking the major hit. And when I say the middle class, I'm talking about the educated person who did things the right way, who's not dependent on government because they make too much for any type of government assistance, right? Who got a bunch of student loan debt usually, who have a lot of responsibilities. Those are the people who usually are affected the most by this recession and this wealth gap that's starting to widen more and more right before our eyes. And so, Jewel, I'll just say that people need to be extremely diligent in taking action now to gain the information and insight, because this is our world and it's a norm for us, but we want to normalize it for the masses.
Yep. And the thing about it, China, you can start right where you are. You can start at $5 a day. You can start at $10 a day, $10 a week. The key is to start. You know what I mean? And I think what I love about crypto is it equals the playing field. We literally have people that come into this space and 12 months later, they 6 and 7 figures up. You know what I mean? Literally within a 12-month time frame, but not just in cash liquidity. I want you to have liquidity, but I really want to make sure that you are setting yourself up. Yes, that's exactly right. Latrina just said the middle class is projected to be obsolete. That's exactly what's going to happen. So let's go on, pay attention. These next couple minutes are pretty strong.
Everyone that works for a living that wanted to buy those things. What? And so people don't understand it, because either they're wealthy and they're beneficiaries of loose monetary policy, right? Or I think that's the number one reason. Or they're stuck in they're stuck in a frame of reference. If you have a strong ego, it's like if I take you to the top of a cliff and I kick you off the cliff and you're humble, you would look and you see, oh, that mountain is like zooming up really fast. That's not a bubble. I'm falling, right? But if you have a strong ego, you think, oh, the mountain seems to be like going up really fast. It's a bubble. It's got to eventually come back. And the issue is it's not coming back. You're going to smack into the earth because you're falling. So, I mean, I guess the best example is most Americans can't imagine their currency weakening. They're arrogant about it. If you go to Argentina, the currency weakened from 1 peso to the dollar to 155 pesos to the dollar over 20 years. You lost 99.5% of all your wealth because everything's going up in pesos. Are you getting richer, or is the peso collapsing? So I think people in Zimbabwe, Venezuela, and Argentina, they get it. They understand that If the currency is collapsing, your stocks aren't getting more valuable.
So
and
Michael,
your
I
house
know
is
that
not
you
getting
were,
more valuable. You're just getting impoverished. But Americans can't conceive of American currency weakening. And so if you're stuck in the American mindset, let me just give you one more metaphor.
yeah, sure.
Like I'm sucking the oxygen out of the air. If I inflate the currency by 10%, I sucked 10% of the energy out of your dollar. When I inflate the currency by 100%, I sucked half the energy out of the dollar. I'm marching you up Mount Everest. The oxygen is disappearing. You're going to get hypoxia. Eventually, you know, if I suck all the oxygen out of the currency, the economy collapses. And that's what happens in hyperinflation. When the current currency collapses, it's like your blood doesn't carry oxygen. And the entire economy is ripped back to Stone Age barter. And practically what happens is, you know, El Salvador flips over to the US dollar as the next best currency. And but here, what's the problem with that? How am I supposed to get dollars? If you study the history of America, before the American Revolution in the Chesapeake Bay, they used bales of tobacco as money because they couldn't get money. So if you use dollars in Zimbabwe or Nigeria or El Salvador, and there's no bank, and there's no Visa, and there's no Apple Pay because it's illegal, then where's your dollars coming from, right? I mean, how do you operate a 21st century economy without access to a currency? And if the currency is losing its value fast enough, then you have to have an asset in order to store your economic energy, or else you get Weimar Republic.
So I know you
got that different places in the world now.
I know you were involved in Elon's decision to put Bitcoin on Tesla's balance sheet. We can get to that a little bit later. And I know you've been working or having conversations with sovereigns about making it the reserve currency. Were you involved in what happened in El Salvador, or is there other countries that you're working to tip?
Okay, so this is what's really important. What's really important is for you to understand that we do have someone that can speak Japanese, actually. We have a Japanese translator. This is what's really important for you to understand, that it's not going, like, you might feel like right now, hey, I'm good, life is good, I got my house, I got my car, or maybe you're already feeling the squeeze. Don't keep going to what you know to be your answer. A loan from a bank is not your answer. Another job is not your answer. What's your answer is to put yourself in a position to get the education that the billionaires have, not just traditional billionaires. I'm talking about crypto billionaires. The reason this brother is a mentor for me is because he is a Bitcoin billionaire. You see what I'm saying? And we have a whole academy that you can be attached to that's going to teach you all of these things. And I know some of it may have been like kind of over the head or whatever. That's okay. We're going to break it down for you, okay, in our language, right? To make sure you understand what's going on so that you don't miss this moment. This is a moment. This is your time. Bitcoin, I'm telling you, mark my words, from all the indicators, all the mentors, the fundamentals, the news, everything goes back to a Bitcoin of 6 figures by the end of the year. So guess what? If you had an opportunity to start accumulating it now, and it's not just about buying it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I can't wait to see you in Charlotte either. It's not just about buying it. It's about understanding it and learning how to leverage it. So yeah, you can go on Coinbase and buy it. I really rather you buy it from Black Wall Street app, but even more than just buying it, I need you to understand what's happening so that you can actually start trading and participating in this wealth transfer. There's no reason in 2021 for anybody to still be significantly struggling. If you are struggling, it's because you lack information. Get hungry. Get hungry, right, China?
Yeah, you know what I realized that made the biggest shift in my life financially or economically was the relationships that I got into where people were not just sitting around passing opinions or shooting the breeze, as my parents would say, but they had real sound knowledge. And sometimes, yes, it could be intimidating, but it's only intimidating if you don't consistently push into what will become the norm for you. So when you listen to a Michael Saylor, maybe the information goes over your head a bit, but it will become sexy and attractive if you get into a community where you begin to talk another language. See, we've learned the language of wealth. And now we can understand the language of wealth. And then you begin to speak the language of wealth. And so I can't urge you guys enough to say, listen, you have to be the one to make the decision to turn off the Netflix. You got to be the one to make the decision to use social media as a business tool and not allow it to use you to just scroll and just consume all of your time and then push into conversations. Like, you should be so hungry. You should be so hungry, because I believe, Jude, that for the first time ever, the playing field is really now even for the ability to actually gain wealth. That's what I believe. With everything that's happening, Jesus, I'm going to meet someone for a brunch. And when I say it's packed, I just hope that my assistant put the name on the list. Lord. Okay.
You're like, wait a minute.
But relationship, sis.
I love it. I love it. But no, you're right. I mean, I think we all have to be hungry. I'm super hungry. You're super hungry. We realize there's more. You know what I mean? So we're asking questions. We're listening to the right people. Like, I don't sit around and just watch Netflix. I'm listening to Billionaires. So when y'all see us on the cover, you don't have to be shocked. Oh, how did it happen? But here's the thing. It can happen for anybody. It's not just for a China or a Jewel or a Michael Saylor. It's for Leona. It's for Ruth. It's for Ronald. It's for anybody that says, you know what? I'm about to start playing it small. I'm about to stop having small talk about frivolous things and really get serious about my quality of life. Like, seriously. So what I want to encourage you guys to do, get back with the person that invited you on here. Get back with them, send them a message, text them or hit them in their messenger and say, listen, I'm ready to get started. Don't sit here and keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, I don't know. I got some more questions. I want you to have questions, but never, ever allow a question to stop you from actually making the move. You know what I'm saying? You still got to make the move. When China and I got started, we had tons of questions, but we knew enough to say, it's Billionaires over here, okay? And they spitting game, so we need to be over here where they at. Because we were in the gold industry.
Truthfully, Jewel, let's just be honest. Let's be real transparent. Some of the questions we had, we couldn't even articulate. We didn't even know what to ask. It was so foreign. I couldn't even, like, what am I going to go and Google? I don't even know what to Google. And then what the source of the reference point, if I'm Googling it, anybody could have put that information up. And so when you have access, you can become an asset.
Yeah.
Don't miss out on this access.
Yep. No, don't miss out on it. Don't miss out on it. We're real people that have just made a decision to make some real decisions, and it's changing our lives and it's changing a lot of people's lives. So again, get back with the person that invited you on here. We're going to bring you into a community that simplifies and really, really breaks this thing down for the average everyday person who knows absolutely nothing. Those of you watching me on Instagram right now, DM me. I'm ready. You guys message the person that invited you back on here. Tell them I'm ready. Let's go. Send me the link. Let's get signed up. Okay. So listen, I love you guys, China. I love you. Have fun at your lunch, girl.
Love you too. It's amazing. The world is watching. They're excited and they want more information. Yeah. And we are meeting with action takers who have large organizations of people that they feel responsible for, and they know that the information that we are providing is sound, and they're ready to go. So I'll keep you posted.
All right, honey. Bye. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
See you later.